Hey guys, Anthony, 4B4DIESEL. One of our first lockdown activities is we're adding a fire extinguisher mount for the Prado 120. So we've got one of those from Kaon because we put the one in the 150. Even though we've got the fire extinguisher in a good spot in the 120, I really like having it right there, readily accessible for the driver. Let's just use an example. You don't want to be, but imagine a bit of a situation where you're trapped in the car for some reason. It might be handy to be able to get your hands on it and make sure you change them regularly. Apparently they do, they've got use by dates and stuff, and you should move them around. If you turn it or shake it or something, someone can put in the comments, some of the experts. I know there is some experts on these things watching either fire safety and other people in other quality control areas that know about these things more than me. So we're going to do a little video, and we haven't done one of these before. We don't sell or install these. This is just a video to show you. So I'm not the expert at it, but I'll hopefully get the video right to show you the easiest way. Sit tight. Let's get this unpacked and we'll get into the 120 and see where it all goes. Okay, so out of the kit here, there's some couple of nuts and bolts. These are the only 4 components you need to mount the bracket to the seat out of the kit. The nuts and bolts obviously to mount your fire extinguisher onto the bracket. Basically the deal is, I sort of made the mistake initially like I do and didn't read the instructions, and I went, okay, I'll just try and show you this. I went and I put the bracket, just see it sits really good like that. So that's up over, and I thought that's it. When that's bolted up, that's rock solid. That's actually really good. I don't know if you can see that, but that's over, right? But it doesn't go over, it goes under like that. Okay, so there you go, right? So basically what we've got to do is, you can unbolt the seat and undo the plugs and everything to get a bit more access to this, but I like a challenge, and I'm going to cut those corners and not take these covers off and unbolt the seats and undo the plugs, because that way at least the seat is held securely. So when I'm trying to maneuver and push things around, I think it might be easier, and it doesn't look that hard. I've done more fiddly things before, but we've got to get those flat plates up on top there, right? So they've got to be somehow, we've got to get those sitting up in place and then hold our bolts. Obviously the bolts will go through like that, up through that steel plate. We've got to hold those flat. I don't even know what they're called, I don't care. Yeah, we've got to hold those in place and get them started at least. So it's going to be, as you can imagine, very difficult to show you that part, have a camera while I'm doing that. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll come back to you and let you know how hard it was. Okay, so there's different ways to do things, but I like to think and make it easy for everybody that's going to do it themselves. Now we can go rip the seat out and put it on the bench, turn it upside down, and it's probably going to be a whole lot easier. But then if there's an easier way to make this little part easier without doing that, that'd be good. So this is what we're going to try on next, and it may work. So I wasn't going to include all the things I'm going to try, because if it doesn't work, there's no point. But then if it does work, so I need to have a bit. So I'm going to show you things I've tried, in case you think of it yourself if you think I haven't tried it. Now, the idea is you've got to get these up above the metal and they sit there. There's a hole in the framework and the bolt goes in underneath. The problem you've got is you can get your hand up and get those in position. No problem. I don't have any issue doing that. You can get your hand to get the bolt started in the bracket, no problem. But having 2 hands in there is the hard part. If you've got a helper that comes in from the passenger side and they can somehow reach and maneuver, it just sounds too hard. So what I'm going to do, I've got a bit of, kind of seen the kids for a bit of blue tack. It's a bit of purple blue tack. Anyway, that's what they had. The only blue tack they haven't completely destroyed. I think they put some colour in it or something. I'm going to roll it, get a small amount, roll it really thin. Pick a side, I don't really care. I'm just going to make a circle, a ring and around, so that I can put this up in there over the top and then just press it down a little bit. I can use the mirror to have a look when that hole's lined up with the other hole, and the other hole's bigger, so this may need to move a little bit. So we'll put that in the center of the hole. Then hopefully that'll stick enough like I'm holding it to lift the bolt and the bracket up and get it started. And then we can, of course, if we needed to, this will still move around because the blue tack will allow a bit of movement. So let's give that a go. I can't show you what I'm doing. That's why I'm just describing to you what I'm doing. I hope you understand what I mean. I'll show you as much as I can later in the video. Okay, so far so good. If everything's gone to plan, you would have seen the two inserts that I've got. I'll just show you roughly where they go if I can get in there. They're just sitting there. So I'll just come back to the seat again from the front of the seat. It's going to go in slowly. One just sits just there above that bit of frame there. And the other one. Yeah, so that's your position. There's a bit of a high spot hump where the hole is, which is go in and have a look. You can see. All right. Bang, blue tack. We're just about to see if blue tack's strong enough. Now, test the threads before you do, if you need to clean them up or whatever. As long as the bolts start in, all the threads are good. Put a bit of grease if you like, so you don't have to push too hard. And that's going to be the key here. The bracket's not heavy, but just holding the bracket in place, right, up there, while getting the bolts started. So we're going to sit our bolts in they're 13mm deep reach. Right, so that it gives us a little bit more, you know, something to hold on to. I think this should be pretty easy, but I can't hold the camera while I do that, and if I did, you're not going to see anything anyway. So next step is just holding that in place gently and gently getting the bolt started without pushing too hard. Let's do that, eh? Okay, so but it worked, but it didn't work. Okay, so it did, but this little precaution. So we've got the bolt started, it's just sitting there loose. I've got to tighten those up. I'll just show you, yep, they're still sitting up there, little blue tacky things, right? Right, so the bolts go in underneath. Right, you can see where the bolts are sitting, right? Somewhere there anyway, there it is, right? Just loose. Now this was the problem now, as you can imagine, 12 or 13 years of dust, and the blue tack doesn't stick to dust too well. So the first time, I easily pushed it out of position with the blue tack there. So I took it back out again. I got a cloth up there, you know, my favourite yellow Kirkland from Costco cloths that clean everything, right? They gave it a clean up, and you can see they're both up there where they sit. Now we've just got to nip those up using the 3/8 drive and 13mm, so we're going to do that now. All right, so here we go. It's all mounted up. Didn't need to unbolt any of the seat bracket mounting hardware, whatever the case may be. So you've got options here, right? I'm going to quickly run through what we did. I think it's fairly obvious throughout the video, and show you the end result. Now we haven't got a fire extinguisher mounted on there yet. So we will get a fire extinguisher mounted on there. If you want to buy one of these, you can go ahead and buy one. If you want to wait for our feedback, once we've got a fire extinguisher on there for the full feedback, you can do that, but I'm not sure when it'll be. To get one, get it on there and then use it and go, yeah, cool, yeah, no, I'm happy with that there. But I'd imagine it's very similar to the one in the 150. Of course, there's something there that wasn't there before. It's not much of an inconvenience, but a little bit. But, you know, it's a safety thing that you probably want to have handy. You can obviously still get to your seat adjustment to adjust the seat from the side here. And that's not going to, there's enough clearance there. So it's well designed and all that sort of thing. You know, it looks pretty solid there, right? You know what I mean? Right, so I don't think there's any issue with that. And if you wanted to have a final look, let's go and have a look now. Of course, you can take the seat out, or you can take the covers off here, front and rear, and unbolt the seat, and then figure it. By the time you figure out to do that and get to these plugs, and you might as well, if you unbolt the seat, you might as well take the whole seat out. It's not that hard. You can take the whole seat out, take it to the bench, so you can end in that if this is too hard for you. But I sort of was trying to find an easy way for you guys that, you know, you might not want to not be that confident with taking the seat completely out, or you might have trouble getting some of these plugs undone, that sort of thing. Is that pretty dirty under there, or not too bad? It's not too bad for a 12, 13-year-old car, is it? You know, we've got the light under there, you can see. Hopefully blue tack hasn't got a melting point where it's ever going to come down and make a mess, but you can see that's where they're nice and tight now. That's where that sits. You can see both of them up there actually. They may have spun a little bit. I don't really care about that. They're nice and tight. It's rock solid. They're tight enough. They're never coming loose. So if you are going to put one of these on yourself, if you've got better ideas, please put it in the comments, because everybody would love to read and see what worked better for you. How long did it take? Well, most of the time was thinking and mucking around trying, if you know what I mean. But now that we know the system is get down here with your damp rag, clean the dust off the top of that bar up there with those little flat nut, whatever they're called, thingamajigs go. Then get your little bit of blue tack you'll have to supply yourself and put that around gently. Another precaution for if you hang around, be careful, there is a lot of sharp edges up there. Not too bad, but I'm just going to warn you by saying there's a lot of sharp edges up there. It's not too bad, okay? I'm exaggerating a bit, but you could cut yourself on places up there. So just move around slowly up there get familiar with what could be sharp and stuff like that. Set those in place lightly. Then you can, if you've got a mirror like we used, and then we had a look underneath under here to make sure they're all lined up. Once they're all lined up, then we pull down on them nice and firm. Gently lift the bracket up. In the end, I used a normal 13mm socket, two short extensions, get it the right length for you, sit the bolt in there, gently put the bolt through the bracket, gently hold the bracket up with one hand and use your other hand and just gently turn and move it around until it grabs the thread. And it did, in the end, grab the threads quite easily. And they are nice, and yeah, we showed you that, and they're nice and firm, and that's it. Bada bing. That's a bada bing. And a bada boom. We're out here. Thanks for watching, guys. If you got something out of that and that's helpful for you installing your 120 Prado fire extinguisher bracket, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe, turn the bell on, and then you'll get that notification when we do the review once we've got an extinguisher there, and let you know what we think of it in the end. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.